I'm seeing Juhi. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have some questions. So some of the studies that we're dealing with for meta-analysis, they only deal with a single sex. For example, Lenin, Cancer-Seq only looks at women, and Constantio only looks at males, and Nunes only looks at women. So like, do you think it's okay to conduct meta-analysis on this, like including these articles when they only look at one sex?
It's okay.
Or it's okay? Okay, okay, that's fine. And then I wanted to talk to you about the subgroups, because we have stage 1, 2, 3, 4, but some of the studies don't have stage 4. Like the Cancer-Seq studies don't deal with stage 4; they only deal with stage 1, 2, 3. So if we try to do subgroup analysis, would you prefer that we look at the stages separately, like only stage 1, only stage 2, only stage 3, or would you prefer that we like tie them up as early, like stages 1 and 2 as early, and stages 3 and 4 as advanced? Which one sounds better?
I think we have to do all. One, two,
Like separately?
so we have to do 1, 2, 3, number 1, 2, 3, all, like stage 1, 2, 3. But I don't. Sometimes they're just lumped, and if there's no way to separate them, you just have to do best as you can to do early versus
Okay.
advanced.
Okay, so separately is preferred.
Right, but
Okay.
I also want you to do all combined as well.
Okay.
And
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
We're
like
doing an overall thing. Yeah.
overall, and then separate, and also definitely by cancer type.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we'll generate as many tables as possible. But what makes biologically sense is, stage 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3 combined, without stage 4, and with any study that did stage 4, combine those together. That's biologically plausible. But also the thing is, if you so I told you case control versus population based. So that's more important than this, because population based can have stage 4 at that diagnosis. It's rare, but it's still considered early detection. Late stage is discovered even earlier when they're asymptomatic. So population based, you don't have to separate by staging. You can, it's by blood, they detected something, and this is just the real life, like how stage 1 and 3 and 4 can be detected. So population studies, you don't have to separate by staging. But case control, it's important because you artificially made the positive controls and negative. So what is the power to detect cancer? Well, if you have, say, a lot of more stage 4s, you're just going to have a better sensitivity. So yeah, so the separation by staging is only relevant in case control. In population, you don't have to do it.
Okay.
And don't combine case control with population studies. There's
okay.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure, so because some of the information we're missing, we contacted the authors earlier, did not get reply, and I recontacted them, and then we contacted like additional authors like this week. And I wasn't sure how long we should wait for the data. Like,
give them just 1 week, and if no
1
response,
week.
that's it. 1 week, and then reminder, and then don't hear back, fine. First author and the corresponding author. Sometimes the first author will not have email, but you can sometimes search PubMed to find their email. The first author is the one who has hands-on data, right? Corresponding is usually who has the funding or mentor. So the corresponding author email may not be the right one. I saw Kensler from Hopkins replied saying, look at the supplemental figure. So
Yeah.
yeah. So all all big papers will have lots of supplemental figures and tables, which
Mhm.
are only through the journal website, and you have to click to download it. You're not going to
Okay.
be able to see it in the PubMed.
Okay. Yeah. Arnie has been amazing with the data because it seems I cannot get access to Northwestern Library here. I don't know. Maybe it's a country thing. I don't
Oh, really?
understand.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, so basically, wait, I have some questions with the manuscript. I was writing it out with Zuni and Richard. Um, and I have questions. No, I don't have questions. That was resolved. Okay. So right now I'm just writing out the narrative part of the systematic review. Eugene is helping to work on the meta-analysis part. Unfortunately, I discovered a new article that can be included in the review. I I don't know. I was reading it and I discovered a new one, so we're gonna
That's
have
good.
to put
That's
that
good
into.
news.
I'm so sorry. I just yeah. So
And Chewy, we met a
so
lot of like companies, ESCO,
that's
and
what I heard.
yeah, it was really good to talk to
Yeah.
them.
Oh my God. Yeah, I heard from Eugene. She was like updating me on how cool it was.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully you'll
So
be able to come to ESCO next time.
I hope so. It's such I can't believe I missed it by a week. Wait, where was I? Oh yeah, Zuni is helping out. She helped out with the introduction part, and then she's also helping out with the discussion part. Uh, all the data stuff already is taking over. Um, I do realize that it's difficult for me to make more time than once or twice a week to do research. So I do realize that the timeline is getting a little lagged. Uh, so I was thinking that maybe I'm talking with Richard, and if he comes back to Chicago, I might ask him to be the on-site manager for this project, and
Mhm.
then I'll try to do what I can do from Korea, because like I'm realizing that the distance isn't really working,
Sure, yeah.
because I'm not there.
Well, you have to train him. Make sure he understands.
Yeah. We're going over the whole paper together now.
Good, good.
So that's what's gonna happen. And timeline is I think I need at least 4 more weeks. I'll try to delegate as much as possible. I just don't have enough time to allocate to research. But if I feel it's not gonna be wrapped up soon, then I will try to talk to one of the on-site managers so
Sure.
they
So
can
think
speed
of
it
it
up.
this way. There's so many companies now into this space. More
Yeah,
and more papers are gonna come out as
I
we
know.
so and then it's gonna that's what happened with radiomics paper.
Oh
Uh,
shoot.
so these papers are, like really time sensitive.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it's gonna be like if you don't include it, the reviewers are gonna like make you include it. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah, I
they're
feel like I'm missing so many papers. So I know I should stop, but I'm like looking for more papers. I know I should stop, but
Oh
it
no.
just feels
no,
I
you
don't know.
have to include them. So you're doing a
Yeah.
good job. We can
So
ask the companies themselves, right?
okay.
Make sure we're writing this review, and we actually I want to plan on sending them our draft.
Mhm,
Even though they're not co-authors, we want to
mhm.
make sure they're represented.
Okay. Yeah, that
Um,
sounds fine.
Yeah, and then then they will be citing our paper for it, you know, their whatever they will be publishing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Uh, yeah, that's it. That's it for now. I was gonna ask, and then I'll like message people individually about the work I need help with. But yes, that's it. That's all I have for now, I think. Yeah.
Great, great. So in your mind, population-based study is 10,000 patient, 10,000 cases decent? If it has to be really a large cohort. The larger, the better. But would you consider 10,000 a doable project? What do you think?
Wow. 10,000?
Hmm.
But I think Cancer Seek is that's what Cancer Seek did for their like studies.
Yeah, 9,000.
Yeah. Their numbers were they have another one with like looking at both sex.
Hmm.
And that was like 10,000 too.
So I think we're kind of in that ball game, like in that
Yeah.
ballpark range.
Yeah.
Yeah, our last talk with Predison was that we would do, you know, population study at blood donation center, 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think that's a really big and really good number though.
yeah.
How
So
long would that take though? That would take quite a bit
there,
for
so Liam, what's their volume per month?
They're doing something like 40,000 a month,
what?
but this is like blood donation. So we have like, well, we have access to 40,000 samples a month, but
That's
then,
crazy.
we have to screen them to meet the inclusion
Oh,
criteria.
okay. Okay.
But by sheer volume, we should still be able to collect
Dang.
it within a year, but we'll see
That's
logistics and
crazy. That's
regulation
amazing.
criteria and things like
And
that.
ASCO, they, you know, I think they will cover the whole cost of the study, which is amazing too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, that sounds really good.
yeah,
I mean, cost is always the issue. So,
right,
wow.
right. Otherwise, well, so Liam still look into the ASCO one, but by that we might be able to pay one of our researchers here in US
Wow.
Yeah.
to help Liam.
Wow. That would be really nice. Yeah. So basically, with this review paper, I'm gonna be a burden to everybody and keep asking for help. I'm sorry. I thought I could do it, but it's taking forever now. I
Yeah.
appreciate your help. I really wish I had more time.
Arrangement. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the email, but some responding though. We will be awake.
It's okay, Arnie. I have new things for you.
Happy to see your face again.
Should we?
This is all the update I have for now.
Okay.
Congrats on that trial. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. So exciting things.
I know.
So my point is, well, I think it's important to know where the field is so that we could, because the common mistakes that we see is some people talk about a new concept as if they know, unless you really dig like what's out there and really talk to, like Liam and Eugene probably knows, I've been meeting with a lot of different people, leaders and different companies, and asking them real questions like, what do you think about this and that? And that's where you get like knowledge outside actual articles, like what do they actually think about this approach, and is it clinically meaningful? Where is the field going? So that's why meetings like AECR ASCO is so important. And then we're going to have a lot of follow-up Zoom calls and all that, but at the end of the day, you need a prospective trial to prove a concept and make that part of a standard care. And because I dream one day every blood donation center you need to be screened for cancer.
Wow.
I don't want cancer to be, transmitted. Because right now, the
Hmm.
world is only screening for infectious disease.
Would that be cost effective though?
Right now, it's not. But in
Yeah.
the future, it will. Think about the cancer burden in the society, how cancer. If you believe in Korean data we generated from
Mhm.
on our American Journal of Epidemiology paper, childbirth related transfusions, how that led to a lot of women being diagnosed with lung cancer and many other cancers.
Um,
If you think that's a random chance, then you stop there, okay?
hmm.
But if you look at other data, okay, I'll ask Eugene, do you think that's random or do you actually believe that there is something happening?
The letter. There's something happening. Although it's my opinion. Yeah.
So is the Scandinavian data backing up that hypothesis?
Yeah. So Scandinavian data as a whole backed up that hypothesis. But the tricky part is actually the Scandinavian data, some researchers just took a very small group of Scandinavian data and then they ended up having come up with negative results. So it's still like up in the air. It's very hard to back up just one side. But I
Jui, you're still sharing your,
Sorry, I need to. Oh, sorry. Let me unshare. I was gonna send the links.
yeah, go on, Eugene.
yeah, so I do believe there's some association between like cancer incidence and blood transfusion, because all the like large number data show the same thing so far.
Yeah.
At least the study numbers are limited. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is where, I mean, because Liam and Eugene, we did go through the sample size to prove it in the real world. It's too much. So why don't we just mass screen, make this project? It's still for the benefit of those patients. We might be actually saving lives by doing these type of project. And then if this will help put into any policy decision, cost effectiveness of instituting these screening and saving lives this way, because it's another, it's one thing to have a technology, but it's another thing to give them access. A lot of health service research is how to increase access to healthcare. But blood donation center is perfect. Like we are having access 100%. So that's the kind of vision that we have. And for that goal, for that public health goal, what do we need to do? And this, Liam, is another, it's probably a good project for third world as well because of the cancer disparity. And if we diagnose it early enough, because they come to clinic really late, the cancer, but then a lot of people, will, they will, all countries will have blood donation center. Like, so offering them, because we cannot pay them, it's voluntary, but just giving them this benefit of, like a health report, for them to be engaged in cancer screening. I think it could be a global project, which can be uptake by WHO. We just have
I
to
guess
get good data.
I guess it would be interesting because the people who do give blood donations are gonna be like the healthier,
Yeah,
the ones that do not go for screenings.
right.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
It
yeah,
does
think
make
of the
sense.
big schema. Think of the big schema, and how we can change the world. And as the School of Public Health at Hopkins, the motto is saving millions at a time. not one person at a time. The school motto is saving millions at a time. So I just want you to have a bigger perspective and see what we can do together as a team. So Juhi and everyone else, whatever you guys are doing is really generating a good data and an analysis of the current platform and what we can do in this space. Okay, good. So move on to Arnie.
Okay, great. Actually,
Arnie, your speaker's not working well. I
oh
can't.
wait. Okay, actually, I want to wait for Minjong actually because I just text Minjong. She said she will join. Yeah, I keep pestering her like for the last week. Yeah, because she will help me a lot. But okay, we can start. I think. I will turn on the video after this. Uh, So I will share screen. Okay, I will share my screen. Uh, mm, okay, this one. So okay, I will talk about the hyper uh hyper progression. So basically, last week I said to you that I already complete the 141 patient with everything and with all the PDL1 and the very stuff data last week. That's the update that I have, but I cannot start the analysis. So this week, uh, we try as much as we can and also work with Eugene uh, for analyze the data and filling many missing data in this table. So basically, the data that we gather is from Yunho's data, the radiomics data, and we in that data it already have the start of the index treatment, the start date of the immunotherapy. So when we start doing the RECIST criteria, we put the index statement as the baseline of our like our foundation for checking our data for the RECIST. And when we try to fill in all this data, there's many missing points like the mutation, the number of the metastatic and everything. So yesterday kind of fill it up a little bit. And when we want to analyze it, when Eugene and Liam realized there's many of the patient that the start date of the index treatment is wrong. Like when we check it on the RECIST, the start date of the index treatment and the index treatment that we for the immunotherapy in the RECIST is different. So right, it's like about 28 patients last day. So that's why we recheck it again for the 28 patients and we do the RECIST criteria again. Some of the patients we need to do all the RECIST criteria again. Some of the patients, like the purple one, it means like at the end like no follow-up scan. So the follow-up scan is more than 3 months. So we cannot put it in the at the end we cannot put it in our analysis because it at the Sunday when I did a meeting with Minjong and I discussed some patient that have like a little bit than 3 months, Minjong said like no, just exclude that more than 3 months because with Champion's paper it's not work. I will show you the paper later. And also there is also one patient that actually no immunotherapy. So at this point, I just want to say that for Yunho project, I think we need to recheck the table once more for making sure the analysis because if I'm and Eugene just doing the discussion part with the table that already being processed right now me and Eugene kind of hesitant with the data. So we want to like redo the analysis part again. And some of the patients that we want to ask also later, we want to ask like some of the patients have two times immunotherapy. So like this patient and this patient, they have two times immunotherapy, once in 2018 and once in 2019. So we put it, so as like the suggestion, we use it both of them. We use it both of them, but maybe later in the writing part, the sample size it still will be the same. Like we didn't change the sample size, even like extract the data. And actually it's quite good also because after like doing two times, some patients have two times, actually the response is quite the same. And also, yeah, I think that's the most part. So at the end we get about, yeah, we get the final calculation, it's about 133 patients. That's all we get. And actually the incidence of the hyperprogression is by every criteria. So last time we talked about criteria, right? About the definition that we want to do.
I have a
Eugene,
question.
Yes?
How many patients received more than one immunotherapy?
three,
that
three,
you included?
three patients, three patients,
Did they any of them got 3 immunotherapy or 2? Just 2?
two immunotherapy. But the funny thing that not the funny thing. So there is three patients, 1, 2, and 3. But this one we excluded because the time too far. This one in 7 this is in July, and the follow-up in December. So we excluded. So it is only 2 patients that have same NRM. And
Okay,
okay.
I think that's fine.
Yeah. So after that, me quite sure with this data, the data that we
Hey,
collected.
Minjong is on.
Yeah, hello Minjong, thank you for coming. I'm just texting her. Yeah, I already did it. I text her through another platform. I asked her. Yeah, so thank you Minjong for coming. Yeah. So yeah, so at the end, I'm quite sure with this data because we rechecked it twice yesterday. We checked the start of the index treatment again. We checked all the resist criteria again, and yeah, we count it since from the scratch again from the resist criteria. So this is the final calculation that I'm quite happy with this baby. Yeah, all with the TGK, TGR, and also all the factor we can quite put in it. But the problem is, we can be honest, like very start have really not much, not available data. And last time Eugene count the incidents by 5 definitions, but I already discussed it with Minjong on Sunday that we will only do 3 definitions. The first one, the third one, and the 5th one, because Minjong already told for the Kato, for the base support, they didn't use TGR. They're using like 2 dimension, like they need 2 dimensions. So it's like for like a 3D volume, and we cannot count it. And also for the Singapi, we didn't use it also because basically it's like the combination of Champion and Sada. And basically for Singapi, it's only like one paper that talk about this publication. So I discussed it with Minjong yesterday, and she thought it's better not to do it because it's never mentioned in other paper other than that. And I think that's we can say. And we already count the incidents yesterday with Eugene. Actually,
Okay, wait. I have a question.
Yeah.
Eugene O, did you get the volumetric analysis from our radiomics?
So I thought we had to get that data from RadioMix, but when I saw the data file, there were already TGK and TGR, calculated numbers. So I used that, not getting any more thing from RadioMix team.
No. TGR, TGK is a separate thing, but the volume
Wait.
of the tumor.
They didn't. No, I haven't get back. I haven't heard from them so far. Maybe I should reach out to them again.
I think we had those numbers. So go
We
back
already.
to the file that they sent us.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, we have one column with volume, but we don't have any identifier, so we cannot merge that. So there were two reasons that I sent an email to them, teach us how to merge them with our data, and then can we get 3 time points of volumes? But I've not, I haven't heard back from them. So
So
yeah, well,
put it
yeah,
in your checkbox. If you don't
yeah,
hear
yeah.
in 1 week, resend, always CC me so that I can follow and bug them.
Okay.
I think this is our pattern. We send them something, we don't hear back, and then few months
Right,
pass
right,
by.
got it. Yeah,
So we yeah.
yeah. I will send them email today, within today, and then keep tracking, on a weekly basis.
Okay.
Yeah, and also last for last day after, like we later Eugene will be like describe more about the expand more about the finding, but it's quite a good number for me. I feel like from the SADA visit we get 19 patients incident, Champiat 7, and Ferrara is 3. It's I mean it's and the funny thing is Champiat 7 patient is like inside the SADA visit 19 patients, and
Hmm.
Ferrara have a really different patients,
Really
but
different, no overlap.
no overlap.
Wow.
No overlap. The one who only in the overlap is Champion and Sada Buzit. But
Arnie, sorry, quick question. What's the 10 out of 19 mean?
Oh, that's actually the thing that I've written. So I just want to express that the people who met SADA Buzit criteria not meeting Champia, the number of the people were 10. Oh, what was 10? Yeah.
yeah, but I mean in here like we can also realize that Champion uh like excuse me like
So Champion is I can't remember. TGR only, TGR with resist.
Right.
yeah. So basically like the one of like Sada like one of Champion criteria is like Sada Buzit
Yeah,
criteria.
yeah.
So it's like can overlapping. Then Ferrera doesn't have like Sada Buzit criteria. It's like Sada Buzit like more than 2, Ferrera takes another thing like TGR expressions minus like more than 50. So it's like literally different than Sada Buzit in here. So I think that's quite tell us about this diagram, fan.
Okay.
And yeah, I think for the analysis, Eugene can tell more us about it, and maybe yeah for the
So let's ask Minjung. What do you think about there's this outcome where there's no overlap between Ferreira and Sada Buzid? Is it just a random chance? Or the papers you've reviewed, I guess there's no way, they're all different studies, but I just want to hear your thoughts.
So just to clarify, Sadabuzid and Champiat do have a substantial overlap, right? Is that
yes
did
yes
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
yeah, then I think it makes sense. Ra tends to have a very low incidence comparatively, and right now we only have 3. So if there's no overlap, I wouldn't be that surprised.
So Ferreira and Sada Buzid, you expect no overlap?
Yes. I expect more overlap between, at least according to, first of all, not that many papers that compare definitions for incidents included Ferrara.
Yeah.
I think only 1 or 2 did,
Oh,
but most of them did compare Champion and Sada Buzid, and they do have a pretty substantial overlap. At least I think around 60%. And I think that's what we're seeing here. So in terms of the 2 definitions on the right, yeah, I think it makes sense. And then even for Ferrara, it always tends to be, first of all, it tends to have the lowest incidence. And for that reason, there is often little overlap.
That makes sense to our data analysis result.
thank you
the
Minjo.
Ferreira definition tend to pick up, what kind of tumor do they pick up by the definition? Like what are,
Well, I guess we can't say tumor because that analysis hasn't been done yet, but more than that, I would say it's one of the most strictest definitions.
So it has to be really exploding to be Ferrera.
Exactly. Because it's an
Yeah.
absolute difference instead of a
Right, right,
ratio.
right.
So
And
it
for
has to
that,
be like a large tumor, like really big tumor.
so if basically if the change in the tumor growth rate is the largest. So for Champia, you take the tumor growth rate at time point 2 and divide that by the tumor growth rate at time point 1, time interval 1.
Yeah.
But for Ferrara, it's taking the difference between the two. And in, I think, most of the cases, it tends to be smaller for Ferrara. But then it was in the meta-analysis paper where I said that actually there are times when this pattern is switched, and this, at least we hypothesize in the manuscript, was related to the fact that in some tumors, there are a lot of metastases, and metastases aren't included in the RESIST evaluation,
Hmm.
which is one of the biggest limitations of using RESIST to evaluate HPD. And so depending on the nature of the tumor, I don't know if it depends on the tumor type or what, but if we have a cohort of patients where they tend to all have metastases, then because the measurements are not reflective of the changes that are taking place, the definitions for Ferrara and Champia tend to have a different outcome. And like in general cases without metastases, Champia tends to be higher incidence than Ferrara. But when patients have a lot of metastatic lesions, it's the opposite. So
So for calculating the tumor size, Champion and Ferrera measures all the metastatic sites.
they do not.
What do they measure?
So they measure just like the RESIST criteria, the longest diameter of the target lesions.
Oh,
Did
Ferrera
I-
and
Yes. both of
Champion,
them.
their definition of target lesion is same as RESIST.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of them are, all of them are based on RESIST.
So that might be the problem. It's the ultimate problem of RESIST
So
is all carried on to HPV definitions.
so the problem is in the criteria. We can say that. Like
Yeah.
Sampiat and Ferrer are using RESIS, but only Sadabuzit didn't use RESIS criteria. At first,
Sadabuzid is also the target lesions are evaluated based on RESIST. They just don't include the criterion of progressive disease in their definition. And that's why we tend to get a higher incidence.
Yeah.
Even in the data from our lab, there are patients with stable disease or partial response who have a ratio greater than 2. So
Got it. Got it. Okay, Arnie, anything else?
okay, so we want to talk about the analyzing. Eugene already make it. I will stop sharing my screen so Eugene can show her screen. But yeah, I kind of disappointed. But yeah, let's Eugene talk about it and we can. Uh, okay, Eugene.
Yes, so based on the rearranged data set, we were able to collect new incidents, calculate new incidents. This is like this. So according, like alignment with what Minjung said, like Ferrara yielded the lowest incidence, and Sarabuzid and then Champion et al. Like about Sarabuzid was about 15 and Champia was 5.6%, and the number is like this. And the difference of the like the total patient count is that we don't have, there's some kind of missing values. Do you remember that we decided to keep the patient who have same um same what can I say, same some of the tumor measurement, so that we cannot build TGK or TGR, but we do want to keep them for other like variable analysis. So those 6 patients were decreased for Champia and Ferrara et al. Definition. That's why there's number difference. And yeah, according to this new calculation, I think we have to renew this bar graph as well. And I try to find, is there any overlapping between the definition and these are the things that I come up. And right now, from now on, I just want to briefly share about the results of just descriptive statistics. And yeah, so if you see this is the, so I grouped I made a 2 group based on the RECIST progression. So among 133 patients, there were about 37 patients who are considered to have progression based on RECIST criteria. And if I did descriptive statistics, it says tumor size, post-treatment tumor size, and then TGK, TGR, some of values are really correlated well with RECIST progression. But other than that, like Ferristrat, if you look at this number, we only have less than 30, I think, or around 30 patients who had the Ferristrat values among 133. So I think maybe we can blame the small number as regarding this kind of a results as well. And other than that, I cannot find any values that are correlated with RECIST progression. But this is number of metastasis, and these are brain metastasis, bone metastasis, and liver metastasis. Number of metastasis and liver metastasis was found to have correlation with progression. If you see this number, there were more liver metastasis in patients who have progression based on RECIST criteria, and number of metastasis was also higher in the patients who had progression based on RECIST criteria. And also all other hyperprogression definition was correlated with RECIST progression as well, interestingly. And moving on, I'm trying to look at the hyperprogression itself, and then here I consider hyperprogression if there is at least one, at least if the patient met only one criteria among the 3 definitions that we used. So basically, there were 22 patients who met hyperprogression criteria, regardless of the types. And the results showed there were not many things that were correlated with hyperprogression in terms of histology, Veristrat, TMB, age, sex, smoking history, ECOG status, tumor stage, and EGFR, NRL, even platelet, even other metastatic variables as well. So I did believe there might be some correlation between NLR or at least EGFR, but there were not any.
So this is what definition?
I consider all the 3 definition in a group.
All 3 definitions.
Yeah, so this number 22 came from, if you remember this, so I took consideration Ferrara and Sadabuzid and Champia all in together. So that gave us number 22, like 3 plus 19.
I suggest you do it for all different groups.
I did that. So Champia, like only bone metastasis was significantly related to the hyperprogression by definition of Champia. And Sadabuzid, there were no variables that were correlated with Sadabuzid definition. And Ferrara, like only 3 patients, right? So I do believe this small number of patients might have affected to the statistics result as well. And lastly, I try to group Champia and Ferrara as well in a one group. So I come up with number 10, 3 plus 7 from each definition. And here, bone metastasis was also correlated with hyperprogression as well. And lastly, I try to look up progression divided by hyperprogression or not. So basically, this table shows us that among the patient who had progression based on RECIST, there are 30, I think 37, yeah. Among them, 13 patients were classified as to have hyperprogression based on all three definition. And if you look at the other variables that I included, like only brain metastasis was marginally significant. So if you look at this chi-square look like table, it seems like if there is a true non-hyperprogression progression, there were more, people tend to more have brain metastasis compared to the hyperprogression. And and also interestingly, like among patients who didn't have any progression on based on RECIST criteria, some hyperprogression definition detected 9 patients as having
What
hyperprogression.
definition?
I didn't look at like what definition did this 9 patients each one like have, but I think I can later.
But it's all mixed up 3?
Yeah, it's all mixed up 3. That gives us 22 number. But I think I have to look into this 9 as well.
So no meaningful association.
Other than a minor one. But as listening to Minjung's comment, maybe I can group patients into 2 groups who have metastasis or not, and then try to find some meaningful results.
So the ones that reported are not being reproduced.
Yeah, that's so based
Dr.
on
Chae,
yeah.
actually, I have some input about it because if we see the table, I can realize why the one that have the correlation is the metastatic disease, because the table that has a good amount of data is the number of metastases, brain meta, bone meta, and liver meta, because we can check it, we can have it all the data. But for like the mutation and every mutation, like most of them, like if like you have like 130 patients, but like only 40% or about 55% that have like the exact amount of data, or like mostly it's like not available. That I think that's also like what we struggle, and with that I've been discussed with Eugene and Liam about this table. And last day we feeling it like about the one that's missing, but we don't know if we check it one by one whether there is like a mutations or not. And if like the staging and like the metastatic, of course we have it, and that's why we can find the correlation. But other than that, it's kind of, yeah, I think that's one of the reasons also.
Okay. What about EGFR?
EGFR, we do have this number of data. We do have, but very interestingly, like for the total hyperprogression, like it says, I mean, percentages are pretty similar between two group, right?
Yeah.
And for Champia, still similar. Sadabuzid similar. For like three of them have even like hyperprogression group people didn't have any EGFR mutation.
What about NLR?
So
How
NL,
did
yeah,
you use cutoff?
cutoff
Five?
cutoff 5. Yeah, I use cutoff 5. And NRR as well. Very
No check.
similar. I mean,
Oh,
here are some Champia a little bit different, but still not statistically significant. I'm not sure whether this is coming from the small number of patients or not, but maybe we lack statistical power to show the difference for
Do you have any suggestion for this? Like, can
I
if we
think
use-
over 100 patient is decent for a single
Yeah.
institution study. The fact that we didn't find anything can be a random. Maybe there's these clinical factors are not the ones that truly, derive. But it's good that we looked at it and we didn't, we can report negative study. We didn't find. And we report by different definitions. This is how different it is, and we can discuss why it's different, just like what we discussed today. And really, it's important to find the risk factors, but at least what we've looked at, we did not see. And then the very straight, you don't have to report.
I think
You don't have-
I don't think we can, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not made for these. So you don't even have to put that in your, and the histology type didn't affect. So,
Okay.
and then the TNM staging doesn't have to be, it could be stage 1 combined, 2 combined, 3 combined, 4.
Okay.
Um,
because for the number incidence of the patients, I'm quite happy because it's really pretty rare for the hyperpropagation, especially if we have a really specific definition. Like the number is really rare, like 3 from 135 patients. But yeah, from the analysis data, it's only showing correlating with one with metastatic. That's all. So yeah.
yeah, I think for the main table, I think by different definition, you can all include that as a supplemental table. But if you have to pick one table to show the distribution, I'll ask Minjung, what would you prefer? What definition? Like combining 3 seems a little artificial.
I would say Champion is the most commonly used.
Yeah, so do Champiad. So 7,
Got it.
so show that as everything else as a sensitivity analysis, combining all the different definitions, put them in a supplemental table so that people can look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, so with lung cancer, 7 out of 120 feels like probably what's really happening. And in the discussion, you can put some argument, what is clinically more meaningful? Like, what definition is, most, you could discuss pros and cons, but what's in the end, more relevant? You can put that in your discussion as well.
Mm. So for next week, like we need to discuss what we will put for the discussion and for in the abstract part. We can talk about the incidents and the results from the Sampia table.
Yeah, so make them into, formal table and then supplemental table figures. I like the Venn diagram, so make them more presentable. That could be a figure for the manuscript. We could make some sort of a graph that will show, so it's the x-axis, y-axis, x would be timeline. Okay, so because they all use resist sum, you can use cycle 1, day 1, pre-baseline, and post. So you can graphically show something like this. You see it? So cycle 1, day 1 is the 0 point. And then you have pre-baseline resist sum. And it will kind of show how the graph, the slope becomes greater than 2, whatever it is. Graphically show how that 7 patient is different from the other 119 patients, and maybe color those ones with red and the other ones with dotted line or whatever it is. So the graphically you can show people what are the unique growth slope for these patients.
Dr. Chae, one question. It's for the 7, it's for like every definitions, right? So we're using 3, we will make 3 lines for the like from pre-baseline, baseline, and after treatment, and like we show the RECIST criteria, which we choose randomly for the patients, or like how is it? Because like Federer have
So
3
this
patients.
is one patient. The
Oh.
one line is one patient. And you're gonna make the line red for the ones we say it's hyperprogression. And you're gonna make 3 different graphs by each definition. But the graph will be same. Each definition will just highlight different lines.
I think I get it.
Dr. Chae, you want one graph with 3 lines or 3 graphs with each one separate for each study?
So each graph will contain 120 patients. So 120 lines in one graph. You're only going to color the lines in red that are defined as hyperprogression by each graph definition.
Okay.
So there will be 3 graphs, right?
3 graph, because we have 3 definition. The graph will always have the total number of patients. One line is one patient. And you're going to color code only the ones with hyperprogression. So I just want to make it visual for people.
Okay.
And you can put this in supplement. I would say, because we're using Champiad, use Champiad. Well, I think it's okay. I think we can put it as a figure 1 A, B, C or something, so that we can kind of show difference.
Okay. So 100 all the samples in one graph, and just coloring the one who have the hyperprogression, so it can be shown in the graph which one like have the
Yeah.
growth.
And the thing is to have the exact sense of the graph, we have to reflect the time. If it's 3 months, it's 3 months. 2 months is 2 months. So you have to be accurate on days. This is cycle 1, day 1, pre, post.
Okay. So, okay, first graph, you also like the diagram pen and also the champion. And for next week, maybe we already can start writing with this data, or like, do you think like we still need to evaluate this data again, or do you think
Finalized table, supplemental table, main figure, main supplemental figures. Generate all the data and talk to me about whether it's lab meeting or you come to me to ask. I will let you know my suggestions. Finalize that, start writing all this. Don't worry about the negative data. People need to know if there was no correlation. And then these graphs and how in real world, how these definitions are yielding different results. This can all be submitted to SISI, these data. So write an abstract to submit.
Oh.
And for SITSI, I think they allow one graph or table. That's where you talk about the difference between the definitions. But also, I didn't see by tumor type. Well, this is a lung cancer. So you have histology and EGFR, PDL1. So there was no difference. So that's a really big negative finding to report.
Okay. And one more question, Dr. Chae. Actually, there's also the flow chart, right, that we make is last time. But last time I already talked with Minjong for the flow chart. So we decide, we will decide that we want to revise all the flow chart and use the flow chart uh, as in the what is it? Which paper? Like one of the paper that Minjong showed me yesterday. Do you think we should show it in the abstract or later in the main article, like in the writing part for the flow chart?
Eugene,
I don't think abstract allows flowchart. We can write in methods, but usually abstracts don't allow flowcharts.
Okay, okay. Then I think I quite understand for the task for the next week. We will finalize the table and the graph first, and after that, we will get back to you for the writing part.
okay, good. I think now you have the final data to analyze. Yeah, so very good, very good.
I'm worried because many that doesn't have the correlation, so I'm really worried about the data. I'm happy with the incidence, but after hearing the analyze, I say I'm really worried, Eugene, right now. What Dr. Chae will say.
Yeah, so it's not about finding any, if it's true negative, see if you, so Minjung, we talked about the mechanism of hyperprogression, and sometimes the PD-1 inhibitors can activate the immune suppressive macrophages. Do you remember that? And maybe it's all about, if that is truly the main mechanism, then it's about finding what would be the main marker to find that. Are we going to stain M2 macrophages? Is that going to be the better way to look for these? Then my suggestion is these 7 patients versus other patients, you can look to see if who has Tempest data. And for Tempest data, we have immune profiling. You go to Tempest, so Arnie, it would be good to look at who these 7 patients are and look to see what are, I guess describing, if we kind of say these are 7, look for their data, like tissue and blood NGS. And in the supplemental table, describe all their genomic profiling so that people see, who they are and have a
Okay.
clue. Because Rosel Kerjrak, Kato, Shumei Kato's paper mentioned MDM2 amplification
Yeah.
in the paper. And see if any one of 7 has MDM2 amplification.
Okay, I will check for the 7 patient, I will check their tempus, their NGS data, and all of the Gordon and all the results. If
Yeah,
there's something,
Arden,
yeah, if there
Tempest,
is something,
in-house NGS, the Northwestern NGS,
Yeah.
foundation, whatever they have,
Mhm.
look and make a table.
Yes.
Their TMB and PDL1, just report everything about each patient. People
Okay.
would want to be able to know genomic background.
Mhm.
Now, other things are, if they have Tempus, if
Mhm.
you go to the Tempus website portal
Mhm.
and click immune profiling,
Mhm.
it will give you like immune cell composition.
Oh, okay.
They will say, CD8 T cells are about this much, because that's how you know by mRNA profiling. That's how we did all the TCGA analysis. If you, Eugene O, if you remember what Horyun Choi did, that's what he did with TCGA. TCGA has mRNA data, and with mRNA expression profiling, you can indirectly correlate that with immune cell expression. So Horyun looked at it. We can
Yeah.
do the exact same thing.
I think it will be interesting if the 7 patients showing something, like it will be really interesting and put it in the table. I really like the idea. Okay, I will work on the 7 patient, the statistic, like for the 130 patient, and finalize the main table. But for the main table, we only input the Champiat, right? For all the
Main is Champion. But for this graph, you're gonna need to
the
have
three different
all
patients.
3 to show the difference.
And
Now, 120 patients, it's good to see what, if they have Tempest, if they have mRNA, because you need control. So you need to compare the genome expression profile. Now, the way to do that is first see how many Tempest data they actually have. So let's say none of the 7 patients have it, then there's no need to do it.
okay,
If there's only 1, there's no need to do it. We have to look at the sample size to be able to show, let's say, T cell expression,
mhm,
CD8, macrophage expression, dendritic cell expression. So there's going to be different expression percentage that Tempest has already calculated from their mRNA,
mhm.
called immunoprofiling. And you can compare those numbers, hyperprogression versus control, and see if any immune cell composition
Mhm.
shows any difference. So that will be a really cool project in itself.
So basically, if we get something important in the 7 patient, we will check the rest of the sample for the tempos, right? If it's
So
like,
these 2 are separate. You will report everything:
uh-huh,
immune cell composition, PDL1 TMB,
mhm,
DNA, RNA, everything. There's RNA reports that shows overexpression of something.
okay,
So, and then the Guardant result. So you report every molecular detail about same patients that you know, everything that you know. So that's 1. Number 2, outside what you already compared, TMB, PDL1, EGFR, you're gonna have information about the immune cell profiling. There's even immune checkpoint profiling. Like they will look at LAG3, TIM3,
Yes.
other checkpoints. So they calculated all that for you. So your only thing you have to do is hyperprogression group and other group. Compare those composition numbers to see if there anything shows any meaningful difference. So that's the second project.
Okay.
And those are just looking at going to Tempest portal and typing in patient's information, seeing that if whether they have the data or not, and just extracting the numbers. So Timothy Hong or Suwon Lee, all these undergraduate students can do it. It's
Okay.
not clinical data extraction. It's extracting data from the company portal.
Okay, I will ask them. Yeah. And Dr. Chae, one more question, follow-up question, because I need to finish like all of this, like for the Yunho project, because I also want to, because you give it to me and I want to finish it also for the original article. But at this point, like, is it like wisely enough we double check it, Eugene, like for the table? Like, what do you have any thought about it? Because actually the table is already being made by Yunho in his paper, but after what happened last day, like, yeah, should we like double check it and start the discussion or just go with the table? Because if we need to double check it, I think we kind of like need time. But I know the paper is also like time. There's like a time limitation because others also talk about this paper. But yeah, so you can
So
start with.
I would just have to say whatever you can do. It's all voluntary. Okay. I am not in a position to tell you what to do. I think you need to generate your own timeline and you do whatever you can. And just like Chewy is doing, you will collaborate, you will delegate some work, assign, divide and conquer as a team. And that's an important skill set
Okay.
to have. Some people just like to do it by yourself and it's not doable. You have to collaborate. Sometimes you have your own life issues going on.
Okay.
You have to take care of sick family members. You have to, take care of your own health. So you need to set the pace, but you do your best to honor the timeline, because this is all communal effort. But still, if you can't do it, you say you can't do it, and you have to propose a plan.
I think for me, I still want to do it because I already like being really deeply in hyper progression right now. Like, yeah, for like since I don't know everything since the start, but right now it's quite interesting and already like going this far. Of course, I want to finish that project also, but maybe like realistically, I just need more time. I think after like this time lab meeting, I will postpone my leave like about 2 or 3 days for only extracting the data. Like, and I will delegate everybody in this lab that have Epic access to help me to collect extracting the data again for Yunho paper or like double check it before we start the analysis, because even if we want to reanalyze it now, there's too many space in the like needs to be filled it in the table. And yeah, I think we need to do it if we want to make it like quite legit paper at this point, and I want to make it quite validate it. So yeah, I think I will like a couple more days, and I will try to do it before I study for my sepsis. I think that's all I can say.
Yeah. Integrity is really important. If you cannot convince yourself this is the right data, then what's the use of reporting all this?
Yeah,
Okay.
because
So
after yesterday,
this is what happens when so many people are involved in one project. If you start from the big, but it's hard. If you start from the beginning, you may not finish it. Someone started a project, got all the data. Of course, sometimes you have to redo a lot of things, but it is where it is because of the person who started it. So it's hard. And I think Minjung, you've done a lot of data cleaning while you're here.
Yeah.
Minjung, we need you to come back to carry on that project. There's no one.
Yeah, and I'm really thankful Minjong because like lately I keep texting Minjong and ask about her suggestions. Yeah, and right now I have like her personal contact also, so I can contact her other than Messenger. Yeah, because there's many things I asked her and she helped me a lot. Maybe after making the table and the statistic, I will show her also and I will ask her before like if there is any input about it.
Yeah. So Stas got really busy, the whole blood liquid biopsy and the heterogeneity project, it's very slow. I know Minjung has put it, Minjung and then after it was Haesung, they put in a lot of time, but still with a lot of data cleaning, it's a collaboration with Garden and a lot of heavy lifting in bioinformatics. So we just need a person who's committed in doing those type of research. So that's installed too. So Minjung, you're welcome to come back anytime to work with the data you generated. But I'm just telling Arnie, like data cleaning is tough. And even after that, the analyzing and making sense out of it is the real deal. But it is the most important step. I want all of you to know that clinical research is not easy. We all think that pipetting, working in the lab, that's real research and that's the hardest thing. No. Actually having real good clinical insight and producing good quality data is so important. Even clinical trials. No offense to Chinese people, but a lot of investigators do not believe data generated in China. It's about how the rigor of data collection and unbiased format and how they code it. So you have to believe in the data that you generated. It's so important. The scientific. That's why you need independent reviewer, someone who need to double check what you did. You might not notice the error that you generated, but someone else can. So yeah, so that's important. So thank you for
Dr. Chae,
you know pushing forward with that data check, Arnie.
Dr. Chae,
But
I
it
have
takes time.
yeah. Before I start the data check, can I show you the table one more time? Because there's like a lot of the risk, like the criteria or the factor in here for this radiomics data. So I want to show you all the factor that already you know fine. And if there is anything you want to add on in this table, so we can like search it since the start. Because if later we want to search it again, we will need to check it from the first again, right? So it's better to show it for you since the start. So if when we open the app, we can search it like truly.
Okay.
Okay, I will show you to you now. So this is the radiomics data. So yeah, this is like as usual, like the baseline CT, follow-up CT, date of progression, and date of treatment discontinuation. For the factor that he used is like the baseline path, histology, in-house PDL1, so the MSI, TMB, age, smoking, ECOG status, TNM, EGFR mutation, TP53 mutation, TTF, this one, BRAF mutation, Ferristart, NLR, platelet, number of metastatic, and that's all. Is there any other things you want to put for
So
this table?
did you review every table graph that generated?
So for the 100, my own patients, like my own table, I did it with last time with like this past week with Eugene and also with last day with Liam. for the
So there
hyper-
is progression-free survival. There is overall survival, correct?
Yeah.
So I want you to generate that graph.
okay.
That's missing. I can see that. So the question is, okay, hyperprogression is bad, but do they actually die sooner?
Mhm,
You have data to show us, right?
mhm. But for the mutation and other than this, like, is there any other things that we need to include in this table other than the FIFO? Like, Tempus or Gordon doesn't need to put it in here? Because we will check it again one by one after this for this table. We should do if we want to
So
make.
for that 7 patient,
Uh-huh.
I already told you what I want.
Okay.
The other controls, you don't have to write those.
Okay. Okay. But for your whole paper, I mean.
So for people who have Gardent, you can use this because they will have the highest variant allele frequency. Okay,
Mhm.
ctDNA.
Okay.
You can record all of those for the ones that have Gardent. And this is at cycle 1, day 1.
Okay.
And you can see, you can do it different ways. Detectable, non-detectable. I'm assuming most of them will be detectable. And if it's detectable, you can find the cutoff. If there's any cutoff that you can use, it could be a median,
Mhm.
whatever the number you choose, based on the distribution you find.
Mhm.
Hyperprogressions, or you can draw a graph of VAF from ctDNA, like this. You see
Okay.
this? Hyperprogression and control.
Okay.
So draw a histogram of ctDNA highest variant allele frequency for hyperprogressors versus control. So one might argue hyperprogressors are usually that shed a lot of DNA into the blood. We can check that hypothesis. We can say, oh, no, that's not true. You know, because we have data. A lot of people got Gardent.
Okay. Okay. I will check it today. I will check it today.
So that's so I'm telling you this because we have plethora of data that can check many different hypotheses. So think about it. Minjung, you can think about it too with the data that we have. The more important thing is the radiomics data. So Eugene, we have the radiomics data from Yuri,
Right.
and there are numbers. Remember? The
Yes.
radiomics traits are translated into their scoring.
But may I just ask a quick question? Do you want them to put like volume for each different time points, or are you good with just one time points of volume? Because I only noticed one column of volume, so I'm not sure about how can I use that volume data? Like, is it the volume that measured at the baseline or at the time of post baseline? I'm not sure about that.
So let me tell you one thing about very few different points.
Okay.
Use the volume at cycle 1, day 1
Okay.
as a tumor burden. So we're checking the hypothesis, is the tumor with large volume
Oh.
are prone to have hyperprogression or
Mhm.
not? Maybe it's totally not related, but unless you show the data, we can't be
We're not
sure.
sure. Yeah.
So use that as a risk factor, call it tumor volume.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you can use sum of resist at cycle 1, day 1
Uh-huh.
as another index of tumor burden.
Mhm.
Now request 3 time point volume so that we can use the Samsung criteria.
For
Okay.
hyperprogression. Okay.
Just request, and they might say we don't have it. and
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
yeah, that's to use a different definition. That's number 3. Number 4, at cycle 1, day 1, the tumor should have a radiomics feature. What I'm saying is there's around the tumor, there are ground glass opacity. Some tumors are more spiculated than others. We're talking about the radiomic features,
Mhm.
and they scored it. Okay, they have all different numbers to score all that traits.
Score of radiomic.
That's in the URI's file.
Okay.
So use all those metrics and correlate that to hyperprogression.
Sounds interesting. Yeah.
And if you don't know how to do it, ask Yuri. Email Yuri. We're gonna compare these number scores
Mhm.
with hyperprogression and use Champia just to make, just to be consistent. And see if those numbers are different.
Mhm.
And that's the baseline, cycle 1, day 1. Not pre-baseline, cycle 1, day 1.
Got it.
Now, the change in that number after treatment, which would be delta of the radiomic score for each traits. I'm saying each trait because all these different traits are scored differently.
Okay. But you mean the treatment regimen or
Treatment means immunotherapy.
yeah.
So cycle 1, day 1,
Mhm. Oh,
and the
and
post-treatment, there are going to be 2 different radiomics measures.
okay.
So that measure, this one divide by this, or this one subtracted by this, would be the delta. So
Mhm.
delta may be more reflective of hyperprogression prediction.
Okay.
So
So
we
you
don't know, but they sent us both numbers.
Okay.
So the radiomics index has to be analyzed as part of this.
Okay.
And
Just-
Yuri has calculated all this and
Okay.
sent us the raw file.
Mhm.
So
But there are a bunch of variables, so I need to figure out which are like delta or radiomic feature, but I will figure it out.
right.
Yeah.
So I think it's better to have do some preliminary analysis, see what you find, but what it means that, what can we do? We should have a teleconference with Yuri,
I
because
think that would be better. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it's not it has to be all integrated.
Okay. And just to clarify, subtraction delta should be calculated between cycle 1 and cycle 2, right? Or
Yeah, whatever the post
whatever
treatment
post or
is.
pre. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the radiomics project. But I feel like it has to be a one big project. And this could be all separate abstracts. But as a paper, it's a $1 grand project.
I will try hard for recheck all this data before the lift and delegate some for Eugene and Liam also, and the person that can help in this lab. But I will make sure that it will be published everything about its hyperprogression this year. Yeah, I hope so. I think it's all.
So Minjung, the radiomics, there are some papers that says their algorithm can predict hyperprogression, or was it just the progression prediction?
They had an algorithm, I believe, for hyperprogression.
So this is the thing. The algorithm can be used for both just predicting progression or hyperprogression. So I feel like there can be two separate papers here. One focusing more on radiomics, and any one of you can continue to work on this. This is what I and Iser started. Radiomics project. This is what Sira Kang started. So the whole idea is radiomics feature, and this one we can work with Lunit because they also are AI company for radiomics. The whole idea is just looking at, this is a crazy idea, just looking at the tumor image, one can say that the tumor has EGFR mutation. Okay, it's crazy, but it's, one can predict PD-L1 expression or TMB by just looking at the tumor CT scan. Okay. Now the whole idea is, can you look at the tumor, have AI look at the tumor and say, this patient is not going to respond to immunotherapy. And it's as crazy as it sounds, people are looking into it, and some people groups have shown that it works. So we're doing the same thing here. So I think there should be one paper. And for now, Eugene, you can be the lead for this, work with Ether.
Okay.
For this, you don't need 3 time point scans. Just 2 time point is fine. You just need to have
Baseline. Post.
So don't throw away all the data that does
Oh.
not have 3 time points. If you have no pre-baselines, it's fine. Use it for this project.
Mhm.
So anybody with progression versus no progression, is there a radiomics signature that can predict?
Sorry to interrupt, but here progression means real progression, right? Not hyperprogression.
It means just resist progression.
Just resist. Okay.
Yeah. So that's one paper. We have to write that paper, and that's really important.
So for
And
me,
for that paper,
okay.
you need everything again, PDL1, TMB, everything. So you need every clinical variable for that paper too, because you need a multivariate analysis.
Right.
But that's a separate paper. But even for this paper, if we can add radiomics feature as a one piece of the puzzle here,
Mm-hmm.
it would be great. It's not totally necessary. I think the paper is okay by itself. But if we can add radiomics, it's great. But if it's too much, we can do a separate paper on radiomics, even for hyperprogression. But I think you should at least look at it, and we can decide, depending on what we find, we can decide whether we need to add to this paper or not. But at least we can generate an abstract from radiomics and hyperprogression.
Oh,
And yes, got it.
Okay.
okay, so it will be like a separate paper, and for me, for this one, it will be just finishing the paper that Yunho made, right? But with rechecking the table for analyzing it for the discussion part, right?
So we will decide after what we find,
Okay,
radiomic feature and hyperprogression.
okay, okay.
If we don't find any meaningful traits, I don't think we need to report it here. It will be a separate paper, part of the radiomics progression, and we can talk about hyperprogression as a sub discussion.
Okay, then we will recheck this table first. I think that's the first thing we need to do. Okay, I think it's enough for this project. Thank you, Dr. Chae. I already asked. I need to ask all the questions.
Okay, Junie, do you have any comment?
You are mute.
I will just collaborate with Arnie and then we'll take it further. We'll make the graphs that you have told, and then we'll look at the data again after a reanalysis.
Sounds good. So when Junie is busy studying, you can take the lead
Yes.
writing manuscript.
Yes. And the deadline for recheck for SITSI is 23rd of July for the abstract submission.
Mm.
So we'll submit abstracts before that date.
Yeah. So everything we discussed, the main findings, you can, so by definition and yeah, everything we discussed, the findings that Eugene presented can be nice one abstract. We won't do the very shred abstract because there's no correlation. Yeah, if you find something interesting genomically, DNA mutation, RNA expression, tumor cell composition, 7 patients versus others, that can be a separate abstract.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Because one abstract is focusing by different definition and incidence. The other can just focus on molecular differences. And just reporting that can be one abstract, okay? So work on that. SITSI is going to be in Boston this year.
I think for the abstract and like with the homework for the finalizing and the statistics and the 7 patient, I will like make it this week and finish it first. So next week in the Tuesday, all of these 3 homework is already been done. So we can write something from there because I want to make it this abstract no matter what. So yeah, I think it's still doable. And after that, we will check again for the table. I think. Thank you, Dr. Chae.
Okay, good, good. Minjung, why don't you submit your meta-analysis abstract to SITSI and come to Boston? Your
Guys.
hometown, right?
The submission you mentioned before, Boston, you didn't mention Boston. But yes, I'll work on it.
Yeah.
For the...
Yeah, and you can give us a tour.
Oh, I don't know Boston.
Okay. Oh, Samuel, good to see you. Long time no see.
Yeah, how's it going?
Good, good. So, what are you guys doing? Like, what, like in medical school wise, what are you, yeah.
Yeah, we just started rotations. I was on pediatrics with Stas for the last month and a half.
Wow.
But yeah, it was fun to start. It's just gotten busy, but I have a couple weeks off right now. So,
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to do any projects while you're on clinical rotation.
I know that's what I was feeling like. And we were talking about life events before. I got married 2 months ago.
Oh, you got married?
Yeah, I got
Wow,
married.
congrats.
Had step 1 right before that. So it's been crazy, but I'm
Step
trying
one
to get
right
back
before
in.
marriage is not.
Yeah.
Wow.
Trying to get back into some projects now, but I apologize. It's been crazy the last few months.
Oh, it's okay. Totally understandable, but congrats. It's the, you know, it's what's more important than any exam and project. It's like a new life
Yeah, the biggest
chapter for
project.
you. Good, 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 good. Yeah, so you're always welcome and be involved in any projects you like, as always. So
Cool.
yeah.
I had a couple questions.
Yeah.
So the case report, I submitted that to a few different places, the colorectal cancer one, and it's been rejected. Liesl gave me a couple more options to look at for journals, but I'm planning on like looking at either Journal of Immunotherapy or like just immunotherapy to submit that to, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
In these couple weeks off. And then I remember like a couple months ago, and I don't know if this project is done now, but you were talking about the lung transplant for lung cancer, and you told me to look into some of like the ethical aspects of that, which I'm very interested in doing, but I don't know if that project has sailed by now. So I'm happy to work on that again too. But yeah.
That's a great project. We haven't started. We're just writing a protocol to make the lung transplant for cancer patients happen, and that's being done. Let's see. The ethical analysis, it's going to be a total, it's almost like learning new language. It's going to be very different from scientific analysis that we're talking and having discussion. It's well, I guess we had a pacemaker posters and presented at ASCO. So these can still be presented at major cancer meetings.
Yeah.
But it will have to be a totally different methodology. Like, how do you ethically consider? And it's literature analysis plus, I mean, it could be a survey, what's social perception. So
Yeah.
Because it's when it comes to resource allocation, it's about what the society agrees. As a society, are we ready to agree to say, let's transplant cancer patients? Or there are non-cancer patients dying of COPD, they should have the priority. So who makes these calls? And I mean, you can, and then so this could be about, I think, something that affects policymakers, but we have to have a clear end goal.
Yeah.
Now, so dealing with the transplant project, I've come to conclusion, and then talking to different thoracic surgeons, that it might be how we word it, how we phrase it, because you can have lung cancer, but at the end of the day, you're dying of lung respiratory failure. So the indication is not cancer. We're not transplanting cancer. We're saving patient from respiratory failure. And that can come from pneumonia, that can come from cancer just filling up the lung.
Mm-hmm.
And if outside lung, there's no evidence of cancer that you can find, you could still argue that it's a appropriate indication. And it is still part of the special indication in the American transplant guideline. So it's not too experimental, I found. So you can still get these things reimbursed by the payer. Sometimes the payer, the insurance company, will never know that patient had cancer, because the indication for transplant would be just respiratory failure. And they can have aspiration pneumonia that exacerbated everything. So I feel like it's a good topic, but it's a daunting task. And I feel like scientifically, if we generate more data, that if you transplant lung-only disease, stage 4 lung cancers, they have good survival. I feel like showing that first to the community, that we can have long-term survivors, and that data is comparable to non-cancer survivors, that should, kind of set the ground for ethical discussion more than anything.
Yeah.
So see, Minjung did Minjung did the hyperprogression meta-analysis. Eugene O is doing transfusion meta-analysis, right?
Right.
And
Juhi is doing
Chae is doing early cancer detection blood assay meta-analysis. So you can do something like lung transplant for a cancer patient. It's not meta-analysis, but it could be like a case series. summarizing all the data out there. And then you can, in the discussion, you can put some ethical analysis there.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to show that these patients so it's kind of showing that non-cancer transplant outcome and the cancer patient transplant outcomes are not too different.
Yeah.
How do you show that?
Yeah.
I don't think there has been any meta-analysis or comprehensive review on this topic. Do you agree, Eugene O or Minjung? Yeah, it's just been case series here and there. And we have our own case report coming out from Albert Curie. And that's already been accepted as a poster in the World Lung, right? So you can cite our own abstract there. And this would be a nice project for you. Yeah, so I'm thinking not just ethical, but the whole, paradigm and what has actually been done for like a comprehensive literature review. And can't be meta-analysis, but it's like just plotting all these, but for non-cancer, you can have pretty good meta-analysis for that. And you could sort of make meta-analysis for non-cancer outcome, and then maybe just put dots on like each paper. What's the what are the just we can really be creative in comparing non-cancer and cancer indication.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So just maybe do some literature search. And Minjung and Eugene, you guys can send Samuel some reference articles that you guys collected, but by studying Albert Curie's case. Send them some good reference articles to begin with.
Of course.
And then Eugene, you can send him our case report, Albert Curie. So you can kind of read the story and so do some background reading and see next time you can present, what are the cases that you've found so far. And Minjung, you do have a presentation on that, so maybe you can mentor Samuel if you have time.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I will look into all of that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Just do some reading and stuff and see if we can come up with a good focus question for it. But yeah.
Yes. And Liam, when we are done, actually, the if you go to the pacemaker is public, right? So you go to YouTube pacemakers and you'll see Albert Curie's testimony that he gave to our lab people. And then Liam, we have his, don't we have his faith testimony too?
Yeah, we do.
So as soon as you guys are done editing it, share it with Samuel.
Awesome.
Yeah, he has great like faith testimony, how he was able to go through this. So
cool.
Good. All right, good. I'm glad you have interest in these projects.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. And in the future, this can pan out to be organ transplant for that organ failure from metastasis, like sarcoma with lung involvement, colorectal with liver involvement, and you can transplant that organ and cure that person. And someone has to write a paper to propose it. Paper is the academic currency. So think about that as a grand scheme. Okay, good. Minjung, do you have anything to update?
I don't have much, but I've been communicating with the clinical informationist at the library. So we've been going back and forth, and at the Zoom meeting, I basically mentioned some of the concerns that I had based on the feedback that we had received,
Yeah.
particularly on the methodology for the systematic review. There were some parts that I hadn't considered, hadn't kept in mind, and she said it happens, that it's common and that there are ways to salvage what we have, but one of the main changes that needs to take place is that there were only 2 databases in our systematic review based on the 2 that were used in the previous journal article, but the standard they say is 3. I think, yeah, so to be safe, after the discussion, we decided to add 2 more databases. And another concern that I had was that the search algorithm that was used from the previous manuscript, it hadn't been peer reviewed by a librarian. And that's kind of the standard protocol. Something that she mentioned during the meeting is that due to the number of systematic reviews and meta-analyses that are being, I guess, reported, peer editors are particularly becoming more picky about how strictly they followed the PRISMA guidelines. And so she said that, sometimes there are manuscripts that are published with 2 databases, but definitely the norm nowadays is to at least use 3.
So what are the 2 we used?
PubMed and Embase.
So what is she recommending? Adding 1 more from Scopus or something?
So I asked if Web of Science and Cochrane database of systematic reviews would be sufficient, and she agreed. So those 2 are the ones that we'll be adding. And I also asked her if she could peer review the search algorithm that we had, because after reading on the PRISMA guidelines, I felt like a peer review would be better. And so she got back to me this morning, Korea time, with the reviewed search algorithm. So I'm going to just clarify some of the feedback that she gave, and I think I'll have to redo the database searches this week. And let's see. Yeah, that's the current update. And I'm thinking the ideal timeline that I have is redoing the systematic review part in a month. So I think we had about 900. Let's see. We had about 900 sources or 900 records in our initial manuscript, but I think it's gonna grow by a lot. So it's definitely gonna take time.
So I don't know if we will be able to catch meaningful papers. I mean, obviously through this time, getting rejection and then, people are publishing more and more data. So we will be picking up more data. But I feel like we should be efficient, and I don't know, doing 2 versus 3, 2 more versus 1 more makes any difference. So I just want you to take the pathway that takes least time. I know there, yeah, and what the librarian, did she say she'll be of help, or?
Yes, she's really friendly and generous with her time. So I've been really grateful.
Wow,
for
that's
the
so nice. We
exchanges.
should acknowledge her, or I don't know if she could be co-author, but acknowledge her definitely, because we're
Yeah,
not paying for her time. It's
mhm,
the
mhm.
university service, right? Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm glad you got some guidance there. Anything else other than that from?
For the statistical part that I was
Yeah.
concerned about, after looking into other manuscripts, I think I don't need to worry too much about it. So we'll just keep the statistical approach the same. But for the systematic review portion, in the past month before I got in contact with her, I was
Yeah.
pretty concerned about some of the feedback and comments.
Yeah.
And yeah, going into the Zoom meeting, I knew that, the worst case scenario, I would have to redo the entire thing.
Okay.
But she definitely gave tips on parts that I could save from the previous searches.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most critical changes that need to take place is adding the databases, because I feel like whichever journal we submit to, I think we're going to receive the comment about
Okay.
the fact that there are only 2 databases. And so, yeah, I think she said it's a learning process, and I completely agree.
Yeah, I didn't even know there would be too much difference 2 versus 3, but I don't know. Unless you do it, you don't know the difference. I guess.
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah, some of the older publications, they have 2. So I thought, yeah, 2 is fine. And I didn't even question it.
Yeah.
And then when I received the comment, I was like, what? 2 was already enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the most important thing is giving a well-rounded view of the literature that's out there. And definitely it seems that nowadays they think 2 is not enough. So
Got it. It's a learning process. Good. So Minjung, we have, students who are here for summer. Suwon is one of them, Timothy Hong, and many others. We have, who do we have, Liam?
Yeah, so we're going to have a lot of undergrad students over the summer. It's going to be mainly undergrad students in like a month or so. But we have Suwon, we have Sebin, we have Tim, we have Sally, and then there's one more.
Cecilia?
Oh, and Cecilia. Yeah, Cecilia. So there'll be 5 students.
So whoever is interested in meta-analysis, wants to help Minjung, can work remotely with Minjung, and you can assign them some work, because that doing that filtering, I mean, if it's, I feel like you can get some help from our undergrad, and it will be a good experience for them too. So Minjung, feel free to work with Liam to have people assigned for your project. Okay.
if I feel like I would appreciate some help, yeah, I'll do that. In terms of like filtering, I think I'm gonna use EndNote to do the deduplications this time. Last time we did it manually. So I think we can, because I've done it once, although I'll be in an imperfect way. I think, I don't think it will take as long as the first time. And
Very good. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so Eugene, let's talk about your project.
Yes. So as listening to Minjung's update, I realized that I might need to review my search database to library on whether in Korea or the US before going further. Thank you for sharing your valuable experiences with us.
Minjung, you want to say something?
I actually have a quick question. So the project that Dr. Eugene that you're working on, is it also a systematic review, or is it just a narrative review?
Oh, so cancer incidence is systematic review and meta-analysis. Yeah, we changed it. It was supposed to be narrative, but after discussing the topic, we divided into 2 projects. So the survival and the transfusion effects on survival and mortality, it's done in a narrative review. But for cancer incidence, it's been done with systematic review.
And wait, sorry, can I just interrupt and ask a couple questions?
Yeah, you can.
after you conducted the systematic review with the search algorithm, how many manuscripts were added additionally to your sources?
Actually, I'm in the first screening phase.
Mhm.
So I collected articles from 3 databases, Cochrane, Embase, and PubMed, and I
Mhm.
got 1,800, and I
Mhm.
screened, so far with help of Suwon, I screened over 800. I'm at this point, at this phase, and I have actually no idea how many I can get, like final eventually, but my expectation is around 20, based on this random search.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How many did you have before the systematic? During
During the narrative review? At that point, like I only had 3 or 4.
3 or 4, and you think that if you go through this process, you'll have about 20 total?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because I'm.
Around.
Mhm.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Oh, so I asked only because if you feel like the systematic review process won't really get you that many articles, oftentimes people just, a meta-analysis does not require a systematic review.
Oh.
So there are often times when, they just do a narrative review, which we can do because Dr. Chae is an authority on this subject. And so they do a narrative review and then they just add the meta-analysis. So if you feel like it's, at least from my understanding, so if you feel like it's gonna take too much time for the number of articles that you'll get in the end, I think
And I can skip this phase.
I think maybe like if you can find a way to just identify more articles to include in your narrative review without going through the, because the systematic
I
review
think that's
protocol
possible.
is super complicated.
Right.
Like the manuals are pretty long. So
Right. Oh,
and I feel like the field is, it's quite narrow and there aren't too many articles out there. So I feel like you wouldn't have to go through the whole protocol to fish all of those articles. So I don't know. Maybe I'll look more into it myself. But from what I understand, meta-analysis doesn't have to be paired with the systematic review.
Oh.
And that would save
we'll
the
think
time
about
of
that.
getting the
Definitely.
search algorithm.
Thank you for your input.
Because last time when Dr. Yujin
I
asked
didn't know
about
that.
the algorithm, I was like, oh no, I just used the one from the previous manuscript, and I think you can just come up with one. But no, you can't do that. The librarian has to screen it. So,
searching is not an easy.
After hearing about everything Minjong talk and advice, I really like working with Minjong. I will stick with her for every project. Like her advice is really, really good. Thank you, Minjong.
No, I think you did a lot of the hard work. I didn't do much. Yeah. And for the radio mixed volume data, Dr. Chae, Dr. Yujin has been really persistent with the emails, but we haven't been receiving a reply. I've been CC'd every time. So I would see her email every once in a while, like, oh, do you have the volumetric? Hey, do you have the volumetrics data? But we haven't received a reply. So yeah, I think she's been persistent.
And also Minjong, because we start the hyperpropagation and radiomics basically from Yunho and your data. I really hope that until the end, I feel like until the original article is complete, I really hope that you want to contribute also with this paper. Maybe if you have time, other than advice, do you mind? Like, really happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be grateful. It's just I always can't manage too many things at once. So yeah, but I'll try.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Eugene, updates on what you've done.
Yes. Well, where should I start? Okay, so for a starter, I'd like to have a look at the meta-analysis for cancer screening. I will share the screen. Oh, actually, I want to learn how to do meta-analysis with Art from Minjong. I will reach out her later because I've done it with Riffman, which is kind of old software, I think. I have to type every number by myself. Like, but yeah, I will share the result. So actually, this is my first time to to perform meta-analysis on the like performance of diagnostic tools. So so for pan cancer, I do remember, Dr. Chae, you mentioned that we have to classify case control and cohort population study, but for now I didn't classify them, and I'll definitely do classify them later. So this is the database that I made from the scratch. So here we have seven articles, and one of my question is for
you can combine everything.
Yeah.
It's okay to show them, but what I'm saying biologically, you have to also separate them.
Okay. So
But it's okay to show everything.
okay to show
in one
everything.
figure.
Okay. This can be then the one that contain everything should be in the supplementary or in the main? Or do I have to separate for the main?
So main, I would say everything combined,
Mhm.
population control, case control, and then you need separation by stage.
Yeah. Yes.
You don't need separation by stage for population, I told you, but separation by stage for case control studies, and then tumor types.
Okay. Okay. So far pan cancer looks like this, and I have like two questions for this. Like it maybe it's just small question, but do you think it's better for us to specify the study type, beside the year? Or so actually we also familiar with the test name itself, such as Panseer or Grail or CancerSeq, but I used to put just author name and the year for the meta-analysis graph. So do you think it's presentable, or do you want me to put like test name in the position of author and the year name?
Yeah, the test name is better.
Test name is better. Okay.
Because nothing, is there test name with, are these all different tests?
Oh, actually not. So MC Liu and EA Klein, those are two papers are coming from Grail with different study group. So in that case, I might have to put Grail 1 or Grail 2 or Grail and study course name, and then it's kind of tricky, but yeah, just any input would be helpful. Like any idea how
So
to.
you have to make sure they use the same algorithm.
Okay,
It could two
be
different
consistent.
products.
Yes.
So and then you can't put company name in there. You have to put the product name.
Product name, and if there are more than two articles using same product, then I can.
And then you can do 1 and 2.
Okay.
If they're slightly different using different algorithm, then it's different. You have to say it's different.
But I think I can assume they use the same algorithm if they use same product, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they call it same test, then it's same.
Okay. Yeah, so
it's like the Veristrat and the Immunostrat.
Okay.
You understand? Biodesics has 2 different projects.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and
for
they
materials.
Immunostrat.
Yeah, got it.
But
Yeah.
it's same mass spec, they just ran it through different algorithm.
Okay, I'll have a look at it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they use same algorithm if they use same product, but okay, I will change the name, and then so at least
maybe let's do this. Do last name at and then the paper, and then paper, and then in the parenthesis you can
in the
put
parenthesis
the
I
essay
can.
name. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's better.
Okay.
Here you have the first name too. You don't need a last name at all, and then yeah, that's better.
Okay, without year of publication, right?
Or that's just no year of publication. You could put study. Why don't you just put the essay column and just put it there?
Oh, I'm not sure whether I can put another column here, but I will try to find the way to that. You wanna put another column showing
Yeah, say
essay?
essay.
Okay. Okay.
And you can put cancer seek or gallery, whatever the name is.
Yes. 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 Yeah, and Riveman, the software that I used require me to put each like the number for true positive, false positive, and false negative and true negative, and they calculated sensitivity and specificity on their own, and then they represent it with this kind of a graph. And also ROC curve, it shows which test, the position of which each test in the ROC curve, but they do not yield any pooled values for. They do show like the confidence interval. I can make it to be shown with the 95% of confidence interval. It's optional, but they do not calculate, they do not like show us like pool sensitivity or pool specificity.
Who's they?
Sorry, I didn't hear
Who
you.
is they?
Oh, I'm sorry. Riveman, the software that I used for meta-analysis. So I'm not sure R would calculate pool sensitivity specificity, but at least I have no pooled results.
But it's a meta-analysis software.
Yes, but so I have to choose what specific type that I'm gonna do meta-analysis from the first place. So there are like 4 types, like compare to treatment, compare to intervention, something like that. And that there's like analyze performance status of diagnostic tool. So I choose that, and then they require me to put it require me to put all these numbers, and they don't have any. I cannot find any function to pull data so far, but yeah, but I think I will use R. I will try to use R to see whether it give me like pooled results for sensitivity and specificity.
I guess
Yeah.
meta-analysis of diagnostic studies and see how to calculate, there's like how to calculate pool sensitivity, pool specificity for a diagnostic test as a systemic review.
Okay, so you don't think we're good enough only this data, right? You need like.
Yeah, we need pool data.
Okay. Okay, and then for each cancer type, also because the reason that I cannot discuss much about the result is I don't have pool result, but it's interesting to see, and it also didn't classify any cohort or case control. I just did it all. I just did include all, and I wish Juhi will be here so that we can figure out how, yeah, what can we derive from this kind of data. But as mostly like the one thing that I noticed is specificities are pretty good regardless of the tests, but there's a little bit difference between in terms of sensitivities between cancer type and then also between the screening tool. For example, like Vera Constance, I cannot remember which test it is, but it shows very high sensitivity for colorectal, but its sensitivity for lung is not that good. And breast and ovary it's good. It's so yeah, I'm sorry. Vera doesn't have any data for ovary and breast. these are results for each cancer type, and if it's not presentable, but it's the thing that I got from the Riemann. But I would definitely try out R to make it more presentable. And for stage, like I classified a stage into, grouping 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, because in this way, I was able to gather as much as data as I can. So I ended up have 4 out of 7, which is pretty decent number, I think. And although we don't have like pooled results, it definitely shows us that it's harder to pick cancer in like early stage rather advanced stage. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see the pattern. Yeah. Yeah, still even at early stage, if it's there, it's really there. And yeah, this is really good.
Yes, so here stage 3, 4 are has much like higher sensitivity compared to the stage 1, 2. It's just a duplication of data, but shown in different way. And yeah. So as Juhi mentioned, I have to include just one more article like she just sent me, and then our result will be a little bit changing, I think. And still I'm asking like Juhi to collect more data for each subgroup cancer type, because some papers did not specify their results according to cancer types. I think if I get that, I definitely can make more subgroup results depending on cancer type. And
yeah, this is really good. But if you can add the pooling data, that will be good.
I will study more. Yeah. Whether I can do that or not. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe later I will share this data table with Minjong and ask her second opinion on would it be possible to run meta-analysis with R using this kind of form of data set or not. I'm pretty sure what she did is pretty different from this one. Yeah, so. And for the studies that reported validation training set, according to your comment, I made a total and I took this value, and for this paper, they reported each different results according to different specificity, but I found out that they mentioned results with 98 specificity in the abstract, so I will just take this into account.
Yeah, take that. Yeah.
Yeah, and some paper they just report total and no other like type, further detailed data on type or stage. So
okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you can ask the author, do you have the breakdown? And make sure you look at all the supplemental figures and tables, right?
Right.
But if usually they do, but if they don't, you can email and they don't respond, that's fine. If they have it, it's great. So I think the key is case control perspective and make sure it's divided
Nicely.
better. Now with the column data, I'm just a little bit torn apart because of really good data being generated in like colorectal screening. There is a garden test that really performs well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Freenome test that really performs well. And both of these companies are really good advanced. Natera has a panel,
Mm-hmm.
and these are all good players in the field, and they chose not to go into multi-cancer assay.
Right,
They chose to do just colorectal screening.
right.
So I feel like when you show colorectal here, I just feel like it doesn't, this review is really just, not capturing the whole, what's going on in the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we decided to include
Multi-
articles,
yeah.
multiple. So it doesn't make sense for me to classify into each sub cancer type. But
Yeah.
do you want me to just do the stage analysis, subgroup analysis, other than cancer type? Because I'm not sure what's the significance of classifying depending on the cancer type. Maybe we can do like separate report on each cancer type.
It's too much work. I mean,
Too much work.
my thought is, if we do each individual cancer type, it's going to be too much work.
Right.
And we want one blood test to say many things about multi-cancer screening. So I want to stay focused because it's going to generate too much work.
Okay.
Now, I am not colorectal cancer specialist, so I don't plan to write a separate paper on colorectal. Okay.
Right.
I don't think it's, but I'm a little bit torn apart because, we're kind of missing out Freenome, Natera, and Guardant.
Right. Because
paper.
they did not look into multiple. Yeah.
Right. But also when we show this colorectal data, I just kind of want to mention it, but to mention it, it's just a lot of work, and it's kind of biased. We didn't do colorectal search, and to just point out these companies just because we know them doesn't sound fair.
Then how about just put it into supplementary and then just limit our scope into seeing multiple MCED and multiple early cancer detection assay performance on each different cancer type.
Yeah, I think because this is a systematic review, I think we have to be unbiased. And if it's not meeting our indication, I don't think we should show it.
Okay, got it.
I think this has to remain this way.
Remain this way.
Yeah, but I mean, if we have a bandwidth, we can do colorectal screening as something.
Okay.
It's a nice. It's It could be a nice sub project. In the future, colorectal screening. So let's finish this as a one paper. But I feel like colorectal is where people are making most. I mean, we can do, and then lung is the next. Everyone's doing trial in lung. So maybe we can do one paper in lung, one paper in colorectal after this. Because this is meta-analysis, we can do this as one in colorectal, one in lung cancer as a separate in-depth meta-analysis going forward. But because Eugene, you've kind of did this project, it will be easy to do lung only, colorectal only project and produce some abstract. And if you find something really interesting, we make it into a paper. And because there's no in-depth clinical knowledge, it's just a diagnostic tool. yes, they have cancer. Yes, they don't have cancer. This is great for someone like Grace Lee, or someone like undergrad level who's been in our lab. They can totally write these things up.
Mhm.
This is kind of a project that non-clinician can write it up, because the clinical knowledge that's required is very basic. Stage.
Yeah, more like more into some statistics, basic statistics.
Yeah. So I can see
Not
this as
basic.
more undergrad medical student type of project, but where you can still be the mentor, Eugene.
Yes, of course, I think I can. And yeah, after wrapping up this cancer.
Yeah. But that's leave
Or
this
yeah,
multi-cancer.
okay,
Let's have a potential future projects for students as colorectal and lung,
right.
only blood-based analysis, meta-analysis for them.
Of course.
Yeah. No, I think that's the direction we're gonna head. And let's just finish on this project with what you have. Yeah.
And you're okay. And what you want me to improve is let's just get some pooling data and then classify population and case
Right.
control, right?
Right.
Okay. And yeah, this is pretty much all for cancer screening.
Yeah.
And
This is great. This is great. Like, yeah, I really commend your effort. This is a lot of work, I can see.
maybe you can just take this as an excuse for the next and the delay in my next. I mean, yeah. Hmm?
May I make
Oh.
one comment before I head out?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have to correct myself. A meta-analysis can be only done in the context of a systematic review. So
Oh.
it's not with a narrative review.
Oh,
I'm so
really?
yeah,
No, it's
but-
okay. I mean, oh.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. It has to be unbiased. That's systematic. Yeah.
Okay, so today's keyword is unbiased. Okay. Okay, then can Suwan, can you present a little bit on cancer incidence screening process?
I don't know.
Not that much. Okay, so for cancer incidence, I'm sorry for this like slow progression, but we're still working on, and Suwan has been a great help for me, and she and me went through more than 800, and we have only 900, about 900 articles to go through screen, and I definitely want to delegate some are to Arnie and Liam as well, so we can hopefully we can get like we can select the final article within this week, and then try to make this kind of a data collection by next week. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm sorry I didn't have any like draft for data schedule, but I'll definitely want to make a progress on it.
Sure. Yeah. And then have Suan present whatever she did. So
Yep, I will. And
okay. And
And-
then whatever you find, this meta-analysis for early cancer detection and cancer instance of transfusion, you can prepare abstract for the next cancer meeting, which is going to be, I think, AACR, because if it has to be immunotherapy related to go to SISI.
yeah, I don't think I can
The
present
next
it.
AACR is our target. So we
Okay.
have keep that in mind. And Minjung, whether it's update with one, adding database, if it's reasonable, then you can prepare the updated one for SISI. If it can't be updated, just use what you had for SISI and just, let us know. Yeah, even, I think there's more and more cancer research happening that it became so competitive that the abstracts getting selected, it became very, very hard, difficult. So, but hopefully plan for Boston trip, okay?
Arnie is willing to go there with you as well. So,
Arnie can come to Boston and meet you in person,
yeah.
Minjung.
Arnie is a huge big fan
She
of you.
became
So
your fan, so.
please come to see Arnie.
I think we don't need to pay. I hope we don't need to pay.
Yes, and can I move on to next one?
Yes.
And for the next one, oh, for the case report, I think Liam can update us, right?
Well, finish your
I'm
what
sorry,
you
yeah.
have first.
Okay, then I'll just move on to the Sungmi MRD project. So I finalized my analysis. I finalized the analysis, and unfortunately, Sungmi said she would try to write discussion by Monday, but I think she's really busy. So yeah, if you're okay, I'll just try to write discussion hopefully within this week, and then try to make it into a nice form to be submitted. And for the table, I wanna just ask your opinion on the table itself. So for graph, I think it's done pretty so far, like just over survival and progression-free survival, depending on the MRD and then persistent MRD. And it actually, the numbers are very low, like only 20 patients, but it shows really drastic correlation with progression-free survival. And for the table, this is the table that I not copied, but refer from the Abosh article on MRD. So he described some basic characteristics like this, and I'd like to do that for our paper as well. So this kind of a basic demographic, because the numbers are so small, I don't think I can do some t-test or even Abosh paper that doesn't mention as well, that's not mentioned as well. So I just wanted to be described to describe the clinical characteristics of the patients included this article. And actually I just add like surgery part like lobectomy and segmentectomy. And do you think it's makes sense? Does it make sense? Or if it's no use, then I'll just delete it. Because Seungmi like really written well, write well about very detailed like surgical history. So I was able to classify patients into lobectomy or segmentectomy, but I'm not sure whether it's gonna make any impact or not. It's gonna be informative or not. And for radiation therapy as well.
I would like to see.
Okay, then I'll
It's
keep
easy.
it. And
Yeah.
okay, and for radiation therapy as well, there are only 3 patients, I think, who got additional radiation on the top of the surgery. And so the thing is, I try to do univariate or multivariate analysis, but the numbers are so small. For survival, only 1 patient died. So it doesn't yield any meaningful OR. It just came up like error. But progression, there are 3 patients who got progressed. So I was able to get some number like odds ratio for some clinical variables. So I just want to ask you your opinion on this part. Do you think it's okay to just present progression results?
What is survival and progression? What is that?
Oh, survivor and progression is basically.
So survival can be progression-free survival.
Oh yeah.
So
I
you
think
have to say overall survival,
yeah, sorry,
progression-free survival.
That's true. Yeah. Or maybe can I just put it like death? and progression. Because in that way, this interpretation of OR would be a little bit easier. Although it's not statistically significant, we can, readers can just assume that like age, the older the patient, the higher chance they get progression. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but if I find any other clinical variables that have statistical meaningful results, I think it's easier to put in this way, not progression-free survival.
So it's going to be flawed or biased by the follow-up time.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's
You can
true. Yeah.
have death 10 years later. You can have death 1 month later, and they're very different.
Oh, yeah.
So you need overall survival, progression-free survival. So you can't do odds ratio, you have to do hazard ratio.
Okay.
For time to event analysis, because time is very important variable here.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay.
Is it odds ratio or hazard ratio that you calculated?
In this, I think I have to have a look at it once more. It says like,
So if it's coming from logistic
yeah,
regression,
it came from logistic regression. Yeah. Maybe I can just pull up R very quickly, but
is odds ratio, okay?
okay.
But hazard ratio is gonna come from the time to event analysis.
I honestly, I don't think I get fully understood the difference between like hazard and OR. I think
Hazard ratio comes from Cox proportional hazard regression.
Oh, okay. Cox.
So any
I don't. Yeah, I
event,
didn't.
Kaplan-Meier curve, you need Cox regression model.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Then I think I have to choose Cox rather than logistics. Just.
Right.
Oh, I got it. Yeah. Okay. I tried both, but I just picked the result from logistic, like without thinking much. But yeah. Okay.
So this is very important. And Arnie, Suan, Liam, I want all of you to know we have endpoint, simple endpoint. And if you wanna, if it's a cross-sectional, you wanna look at the association, you can do odds ratio. But if it's a time to event analysis, it's always hazard ratio.
Yeah.
It's just basic statistics 101.
Right.
And in both Cox and multivariate logistic regression, you can have univariate and multivariate.
Right.
Because there's such a few sample.
Yeah, here because
you can do only univariate. You don't need to do multivariate.
Yeah, so I deleted multivariate proportion, but still.
Yeah, you don't even have to say univariate. If you're only doing, you can just say yeah.
Yeah, I will have a look into other papers, other similar paper.
So we don't use non-adenoma. It's usually non-squamous. Adenoma, it's usually squamous and non-squamous.
Okay. Oh, I saw non-adenoma. I brought this term from the Ebush, one of the Ebush like article, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean that's not used often, but
okay.
I would do Adenoma, what percent? Squamous, well, non-squamous, because trials are done that way, non-squamous.
Mhm.
That's more common than adeno, non-adeno.
Okay. And I have to just clarify, if I put adenoma, adenohistology, then I have to delete non-squamous, right? Because it's gonna be duplicate.
Same, yeah. So
Yeah.
you put squamous and non-squamous.
Okay. Oh, yeah. But I think I have to keep one of both because it's naturally compared. If I coded non-squamous as 0, then squamous can be coded into 1. So I don't think I need to row for this graph. So or maybe I can do both, like, because it's univariate. So yeah.
Hey, let's take a 5 to 10 minute break. We gotta
Okay.
answer this. We'll be right back.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I am back.
Yes, Dr. Chae.
Yeah, so let's go over your questions again.
Yeah, so we just learned from you that we need to be cautious using logistic or COX in terms of data type. And yeah, I think definitely we have to use COX regression for this time to event data. And yeah, so I'm thinking of making these two tables, just one for basic characteristic table of about 30 patients and overall survival and progression-free survival COX regression. But if I cannot produce any results for overall survival because we only have one patient who died among 30, so I might not be able to, the statistical software may not be able to yield any results for overall survivor. In that case, I'll just keep the progression-free survival. Oh, that sounds okay.
So if there's no data, is that what you said?
Yeah, so I try to do Cox regression, even with more univariate for overall survival, but somehow.
Because not enough time has passed. Most people are living. They're,
Oh
few
yeah,
died.
that's correct. That's correct. Yeah, only one
That's
died.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it might not make any sense to do that analysis because such a small sample size.
Right. That's what I want to say. Yeah. I think you're
Yeah.
right. So in that case, I'll just keep progression-free survival.
Yeah.
Okay. And other than this clinical, so you want me to put all the clinical pathological variables into this column, or so far, so let's say if you want to keep me doing analysis in terms of mutation, each mutation subtype as well, EGFR or EGFR, and then also other mutations should be included here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure whether there will be some clinical, statistically significant result or not, but still I will do that. And then for MRD, can I put MRD variables here as well? I think I can, right? MRD, yeah, okay. MRD positive and MRD persistently positive.
So you have to be positive, MRD positive, yeah. Persistently positive, yeah.
Okay.
And then you.
And I would define in what way we define the MRD persistently positive in the method.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, for this project time point, I would finalize table and then manuscript by next week. By this weekend. Does that sound okay? Or
Are these figure final?
yeah, figure final. So do you want to have a look at it? Like,
yeah.
Okay. So actually one question. So there are total 6 graphs, 6 Kaplan-Meier curve. Do you want me to put that all into one figure, or so order is, oh, it's still too small. So basically the first figure is about overall survivor based on MRD, positive or negative, and it's marginally marginally statistically significant. And for persistently, if you only take into consideration persistently MRD positive patients, then it shows pretty statistically significant prediction for overall survivor. And x-axis are month. I should put that into the legend. And then progression-free survival, just MRD has statistically significant impact, correlate association with PFS.
Okay.
And then persistent MRD status also has a similar relationship. And I only look at the extracranial progression. Oh, there's a typo. I will amend it. Yeah, and it shows like this, and with a persistently MRD positive still predicted extracranial progression-free survival as well. I didn't put cranial progression-free survival because it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you want me to put these 6 graphs into one figure? Would that be right? Would that be okay?
And
Okay.
put overall survival the last.
The last?
Yeah.
Okay. So the order would be progression-free and extracranial and over?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the method, you say you looked at extracranial because based on the literature, and you can cite some of them, that CNS only recurrence is not captured by the blood ctDNA. You need CSF ctDNA to capture those. So that's already known.
Oh, yeah, that's already known.
Yeah, you can discuss that in the discussion, but in the method, that's the reason. You don't have to discuss that in the method. You could say you looked at both, but in the discussion, you said we specifically looked at extracranial because we know CNS recurrence is not captured by ctDNA. We know for a fact.
And our data showed that as well. Yeah.
Our data shows that CNS recurrence is still non-detectable. So it kind of confirms the shared belief.
Okay. Yeah, I will do that. And yeah, so Sumi and Shuhee, I think they summarized discussion points very well here. So maybe the only thing I have to do is write it out and make a little bit of change into results and methods part. Yes. Okay. I think it's doable to finish this by this week.
Okay.
Yes.
And you can share the graph with Signatera people.
Okay.
And see if they have any comment suggestions. You kind of work along with them.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah. Yeah, we met them and discussed it. Yeah.
And did you maybe look into the discordant cases? Or I think I told Liam to look into it, or
Yeah, I think Liam sent out email to collect more data, and then I actually had to share him with the Seungmi's data. Liam, do you have access to that data or not?
To Seungmi's data?
Mm-hmm.
Not
really?
not
Okay,
sure.
then.
I have to go in and check.
Okay, you can find the discordant cases that we've discussed earlier in this data collected data here.
Yeah. So we sent the email. We're waiting for the company to get back to us with the cases that they're particularly looking for.
Sorry, did you ask something?
Oh, yeah. So this is the one we sent out the email to the company, and we're waiting for them to send us the list, right?
Yeah,
But
but
they don't know the list. They have no idea who are these
yeah,
people.
that's just
So-
for another purpose.
So
Uh-huh.
based on the MRD negative, just among MRD negative case,
Right.
we have clinically evident disease, whether it's stage 4,
Yeah.
there's a disease radiographically, and then MRD test comes back negative. We just want to collect those cases and figure out why.
Yeah.
So they have no clue who doesn't have clinically
Oh, yeah.
graphic disease.
So what
Yeah.
we
Yeah, so here,
just to clarify, yeah, Eugene, so this is Natera where we sent out the email asking for which patients we ran the test on, right? Since April.
oh yeah, that's for another project. That's for
Oh, okay.
another, yeah. And apart from that, we have to send them, not ask them, but send them some
Right.
cases.
Oh yeah, for the before April, yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be lung cancer for that. It could be ovarian cancer. It could be anything. Just get the full list of people who send out Signatera. And if it is negative, I mean, if it's negative because of good treatment response, that's fine. But if we have anybody baseline, not on therapy, or just following, and still there's now new disease where, or before start of treatment, we know there's a cancer and we do Signatera and it becomes non-detectable, there's a problem with the assay.
Right.
So we're screening everyone who we sent this test. And then,
And we're basically looking for false negatives, right?
yeah, false negatives. In all tumor types, not on any therapy at that particular given time, because therapy can make it non-detectable.
Right.
So either before start of treatment for stage 4s, or really like in our MRD follow-ups that we have, recurrent disease now, obviously biopsy proven recurrent disease. It's not like GGOs, it could be inflammation. That we're not looking for that. We have biopsy proven recurrence, and then MRD is still negative. So that's false negative.
Yeah.
So let's just collect. I feel like we will have more than couple for sure. And learning why that is important, because we need to have sense of confidence.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, Liam, you could be the lead for this project with Signatera. Okay, Eugene, anything else?
So a couple of things. I think I've discussed the most important things, but just to clarify, just to keep the track of everything. So for case report, PDTC, like proliferative thyroid carcinoma case report was rejected. So we're targeting, our next target is BMC. And based on their comment, I'd like to, I would definitely make a discussion into, add some discussion part regarding the mechanism.
Yeah.
And I'll try to do that. My goal is just do that within this week as well. And then the double lung transplantation, we sent out the email to surgeons last week, but Liam sent it again in this morning.
Okay.
And
Okay, we'll do our best. They need to give some input. Yeah.
Yep. And our first target is post medicine, and so for MRD I discussed it with you, and hyperprogression discussed with you, and so I thought I would have to make abstract for hyperprogression with Veristra result, but That's
Very straight, there's no association there.
right. So I'm gonna delete it, and
Yeah,
I'll just turn my gear into the radiomics data.
yeah, instead, yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully, if I get back from radiomic team, that then I will work on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Reach out to them and maybe set up a Zoom meeting. But before you set up the Zoom meeting, so the baseline score of each radiomics trait, you can still use that score to do hazard ratio analysis.
Okay. But the thing is,
or like a logistic regression, hyperprogression or not. And then
Yes.
also to see if that correlates with PFS.
but I really, really wish I could do that. But the thing is, they have no patient identifier or any indicator that I can merge their
Oh,
data.
so they need to send you that first.
Right.
So still ask for them to
Okay.
send you that. And then regardless, let's have a Zoom meeting.
Okay. I got it. And then Yuno's original article, we're
And
gonna start from the
Leslie so that she can arrange that.
okay. Yeah, and the thing is, Dr. Chae, I am trying to write the Tempest research
Yeah.
project, but I remember I'm not sure you remember this, but we only discussed about it when you were flying to
ACR.
AACR. Yeah, and I looked up every single lab meeting that we've had so far, and I just found out just 5 minutes discussion, just brief comments on this project. So if you have some time, I will definitely ask you some more about this detail, a little bit of detail regarding.
So this is what I remember. We all went to AACR Tempest booth.
Yes, I remember we were
AACR.
there. Yeah,
Talked
we were
about
there.
it like whole time there.
Right.
So it's
I
just writing
remember.
up what I said in that booth. It's about Albert
Like
case. It's about it doesn't so I said I'm gonna look at two things.
right. Oh,
One
let
is
me just pull up-
mucinous.
Yeah.
Mucinous that's not spreading.
Right.
The other is bronchoalveolar. Like doesn't have to be mucinous. Mucinous, non-mucinous. It's just confined in the lung. So it's bronchoalveolar. So we're looking at two different histologies. One
Right.
is mucinous, one is bronchoalveolar spread. Okay. But
Yeah.
Kempa said that we can add that into one. So that's, yeah.
So here is my draft. So they want us to clarify our research question and hypothesis. So our first, I think you mentioned.
So the hypothesis is that there is a unique genomic transcriptomic signature that will define the subgroup. And those subgroup are mucinous and bronchoalveolar or lymphatic spread.
Okay. And then, yeah. So I do understand that you want to compare mucinous and non-mucinous. But you also mentioned that you want to look into bronchoalveolar or lymphangitic spread compared to non-leukopenic. This is what I've heard from the lab meeting. I try to write it out.
Yes. So,
because as far as I remember, bronchoalveolar is kind of an old term of mucinous, right?
No, it's not mucinous. Bronchoalveolar. So mucin is just it has to produce mucin.
Okay, yeah.
You can have lymphangitic spread or bronchoalveolar spread. And those can be 50-50, mucinous, non-mucinous. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't matter.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's an old term, but if you look at the pathology journals,
Uh-huh.
you will know what they have changed into. Okay,
Okay.
so because Tempest will have the pathology report,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna tell Tempest for aim 1, aim 2, these are the groups that I want.
Okay.
By WHO criteria before and after. You tell them both.
Right, like this.
So you could say for first aim 1, we're going to compare this group versus everything else. For aim 2, you can say bronchoalveolar versus everything else. And bronchoalveolar is an old term, so use
Yeah.
that for the prior version. For the newer version, use this terminology instead. And what those terminology will be, you can look at the WHO criteria and all the pathology journals to, figure out what's the new term.
Okay, got it. Okay. So for this data analysis part, analysis plan, they do how deep should I go into, like?
Oh, just general. Compare DNA mutation profile between the two. Compare RNA expression profile between the two groups.
Okay.
And then, ANOVA t-test or whatever test you could put it in. And
Okay,
we're
just-
expecting Tempest to do it for us. We're not
Okay.
doing it. They will
Oh.
run it.
So Tempest support is requested, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
they will do the analysis. Because
Oh.
they can't send out all the companies' raw file to us. Do you understand?
Right, right,
A
right,
lot of data.
right. And so I checked all relevant data just in
Yeah.
case.
Yeah. So we don't, radiographic image and pathology image, I don't think we can get them.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just deselect them later. Then they also require this in the future
we can-
plan.
We can target for, it doesn't matter, we can target for JCO and then
Okay.
target
Just like-
conference can be AACR. You
Just
can,
roughly fill in the
you can
blank.
do the poster, support requested. Yes, reviewing the manuscripts. That's, yeah.
Okay, got it. And then data PHI or de-identified, de-identified
By Tempest.
by Tempest, right? Maybe I can just let them do this part, or
Well, it's their own data, so it's their own just Tempest
Okay.
data.
okay.
We're
then
not
I'll
gonna get the data. They will do the analysis.
So I don't think I have to fill in this part
Well, fill in the part as much as you can.
as much as I
Let
can.
them
Okay.
change it as they need to.
Is there okay, okay, got it. Yeah,
There's a data sharing agreement in place between Northwestern and Tempest, so it's yes.
yes, I will. Source, clinical data format, structured. Okay, I will just, yeah. Maybe I can, yeah. This is pretty much all. Okay. Number of subjects, it can be dependent on, it
All
can be
patients in
dependent.
their database, just say all lung cancer patient in their database. We don't know the number, they should know.
That's true. It's not prospective, right?
No,
Okay.
we're not asking for sample, we're asking for data, so. So I don't know if this part is relevant. We're not asking them to sequence anything from sample.
Right?
Do you know?
Maybe,
do you understand?
yeah, maybe I can just,
This whole part is not relevant because we only want the numbers, not actual sample sequencing.
mhm,
We're not asking them to sequence a sample.
mhm. Okay, yeah,
So this is not relevant, the whole
Okay.
section.
got it. Okay, thank you. So thank you for clarifying everything. And then, yeah, in this case, I think I can trim it.
Yeah, just write it and just send. I mean, this
Just-
time is important.
Okay, got it. I will just try to write it today and then send it by today.
Yeah, this is not writing manuscript. This is like, this is what we want. And they will tell us, fix this, fix that.
Okay. Got it. Sounds great. Yeah, so for protocol, I will send it by today. And for DLT, double lung transplantation protocol, Liam and I finalized it, including 2 calls, when we sent it to the surgeons as well. And
So did you hear back in a week? Has it been 1 week?
we sent it last week, right after the conference. So I think we have to send it this week again. Yeah.
So yeah, send it again.
Okay. And transfusion proposal, I sent it to the Predicine and Query and Exact as well. And I haven't heard anything from any one of them. And for meta-analysis cancer screening, I have to revise the analysis part and incidence. Yeah, Suwon has been super great help for me, and I'll definitely delegate some of the screening part to Arnie and Liam as well. And actually, Dr. Bhumika's case report and Dr. Cho's narrative review, and also one of your residents or fellow paper should be reviewed by you as well. So I just want to quickly remind you.
Yeah, Dressler.
Yeah.
Yeah, that paper has to come out. Danielle Dressler's paper. Yeah, you have it up there.
So when you have time, I'll just print out. I think Dr. Bhumika's case report is pretty ready to submit form to BMC, I think. And
Okay.
yeah, I'll definitely remind you of this as well.
Anything else?
I think I've covered the essentials, yeah, so far.
Where is Vivian's paper?
Oh, in JCU, we got rejection results yesterday. So I think I need just 1 or 2 days, at least 1 or 2 days to make some additional discussion regarding mechanism. So
the PDF file that you submitted, send that to Vivian's email so that she has a copy.
Got it, yeah. Is she still on hospital, or?
Yeah, she got admitted yesterday.
Again?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I wish I could tell her like it's accepted, but yeah, hopefully, yeah, I'll do my best to shoot for another journal. And
So my nurse is saying that we probably got VRO.
really?
So I'm verifying it. Maybe they got it wrong, but I'm hoping.
Oh, Fiaro.
It's a nanoparticle. It's wrong.
Right. You contacted them a few weeks ago, and they, as far as I remember, they rejected.
So yesterday, I happened to sit right in front of Dr. Yoken,
Uh-huh.
and I asked him his experience about the torque inhibitor. So he
Uh-huh.
thinks it will work for the patient, but the torque inhibitor is not available. So we discussed maybe do PI3 kinase inhibitor.
Oh yeah. Actually, like Novartis, they has PIK3K inhibitors. Yeah.
What is the drug?
Oh, I wrote it down in the because when me and Lisa and Liam went to Novartis, we asked about torque inhibitor,
Yeah.
but there were only like they showed us every like single like targeted therapy of their products, and we noticed we noticed PIK3KA,
Uh-huh.
and we discussed maybe this can work, although it's a kind of upper level working drug,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, PIK3KA was most similar or near near drug that we can think of at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And actually I have Novartis business cards that they I will get back to you when I find the exact name. I think I can find it sooner.
No, there's Novartis drug is called alpelisib, and
Oh, you know, yeah,
there's
okay.
another drug called copenlisib. So
Oh,
copenlisib is Bayer drug,
mm-hmm.
and see if both can inhibit torque, TORC,
Mm-hmm.
and see if they can still work whether even at the presence of frame shift mutation in mTOR gene. That's what Vivian has. Okay,
Okay.
so let's get some scientific evidence to see what we should go after.
Okay. Oh, frame shift mTOR gene mutation. Okay. And she also has P10 mutation as well, right?
But it's non-detectable by Garden.
Oh, okay.
All right. I guess we'll wrap up here. Liam,
He's on his way.
yeah, I will meet you at noon for the meeting. Yeah, and then we'll talk about our projects offline.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you,
you.
everyone.